This book is reminding me why I love reading thrillers, and I think that that's an amazing feeling to have. This book is so good. It is so genuinely creepy. Like, it is so freaking creepy. Hey, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be starting on another reading vlog. And in today's reading vlog, I'm going to be reading some new, highly anticipated thriller and horror books. And in this reading vlog, I did read a total of 3 books, but then I also had 2 DNFs, so like I do get around to 5 different books in this video, but some of them do happen to be DNFs because I just couldn't push myself through some of these. I feel like in the year of 2024, more than ever before, I'm giving myself the permission to like DNF books that I am just not in the mood to read. But I guess my question to you is that I would love to know that in the future, if you would like for me to still include my DNFs in my vlogs like this, because I do understand that it could be annoying if you're like expecting a full book review from me and then I'm like, oh, I DNF'd it at like before 100 pages in. So I guess my question to you is, do you want me to continue to like review the books that I'm DNFing or like show you the books that I'm DNFing, or should I just like scrap all of that footage going forward and then only show you the books that I actually finish? I would love to know because I've been debating whether or not that's something I should continue doing. But yeah, in today's reading vlog, as I mentioned, I do get around to 5 different books in this. There were 2 DNFs, but 3 books I ended up finishing in this vlog, and these are all some like newer thriller and horror releases that I've been very excited about. However, before we do jump into today's video, I just wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is HelloFresh, because we all know that home-cooked meals are so much better for you. But with HelloFresh handling all of the meal planning and the grocery shopping and most of the prep for you, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. I love that there's always new flavors to explore with HelloFresh because they have an ever-changing menu with over 50 recipes to choose from every week. I know that I've discovered some of my favorite meals of all time from HelloFresh, and these are meals that I personally never would have thought to make on my own because I'm personally not the best cook. But I love that with HelloFresh, they really make me feel like I know what I'm doing because the recipes are so easy to follow. They're only 6 steps. They have all the pictures. I love that these get delivered right to your door so you don't even have to leave your house. And I love that this really cuts down on your food waste because everything that you need for these recipes is ready to go with these pre-proportioned ingredients so that you're not going to be wasting anything afterwards. And I also love that with HelloFresh, they give me the opportunity to try new things that I've never tried before. Because recently for dinner, I just made this mozzarella and herb chicken with roasted broccoli and buttery couscous. And I've actually never attempted to cook couscous before. I've never tried it. And so this was my first ever experience trying couscous. And I gotta say, I was a fan. I actually really enjoyed this. And of course, the chicken was so freaking good. Anytime that I have a meal with chicken with HelloFresh, they always know how to like season it perfectly and it tastes amazing. So for free breakfast for life, go to HelloFresh.com and use my code FREEGabbyReads. That is 1 free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. And that's free breakfast for life when you go to HelloFresh.com and use my code FREEGabbyReads. I highly recommend that if you're gonna be getting free breakfast for life, you need to check out those egg bites. They are so freaking good. You can visit the link in the description down below, and thank you so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. And now, let's get into the books. Hello, I wanted to update you because I have been reading Like Mother, Like Daughter. I actually just hit page 78, and unfortunately, I hate to come on here and start the vlog this way, but I think this one's gonna be a DNF for me. I am so freaking bored 80 pages into this book. I was curious to read this one, you know, because I have had good experiences with Kimberly McCreight in the past. I mean, I don't think that I've ever like loved a book from this author, but I have enjoyed her writing in the past, and I was curious to read this one because I am particularly interested in like mother and daughter relationships in thrillers. At least most of the time I feel like I am. But I don't know, there's something about this story in particular that is just so boring. Like there's just nothing happening in the plot. So the general premise for this one is that we're following this young girl named Cleo, and she's a student at NYU, and her mom is like texting her being like, hey, can you come over? Can you come over? Like, when are you coming over? Her mom is just repeatedly texting her, and then when she ends up going over to her mom's place, which is in Brooklyn, she finds that the door was like left kind of open, and then she's like, Mom, like what's going on? Where are you? And she sees that the stove was left left on, and there's like glass shards all over the floor, and there's like a little bit of blood on the floor, and she's like, oh my god, what the heck, what happened? And so the story is about how her mom seems to have just disappeared, and she doesn't know what happened to her mom. Not only do we get Cleo's perspective in the present day, but then we do get flashback chapters of Katrina 6 days before she went missing, and so we do get the mom's point of view, and we kind of get to see what was happening with her leading up to her going missing. And her mom, she works at this law firm, and so there's a lot going on with her mom as well, like how she's like kind of starting to see this guy at the law firm. She's like sleeping with him, and I mean, her and her husband are completely separated at this point, and her husband, this guy Aiden, or her ex-husband I should say, he's literally working on this like film documentary, and he keeps like asking her for money to like help support his dream of like this film documentary that he's working on. And this guy's like asking for a lot of money. I'm like, bro, what? But the reason I feel like I want to DNF this is because at 80 pages in, not only do I not really care enough about the characters to even, you know, care about like what happened to the mom or like where she went. I just don't really care. I feel like tone-wise, this is kind of reminding me of that book Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter, which is a book that I personally gave 1 star. Like that was one of the books I struggled through the most because I don't know why. I guess I don't really enjoy the thriller trope when it's like a mother that has a mysterious past that we're trying to figure out through the perspective of her daughter. I guess that specific trope, I'm starting to realize in thrillers just really does not work for me. Like I am not invested at all. And I always feel like it's because the mother's past in books like these, like, oh my god, it's never that interesting. Like I just never find it to be that engaging. And I feel like at 80 pages in, so much of the story has just been like drama between this family. So many flashback scenes to like when the daughter found out that like they were splitting up and how it just made her so angry, and then when her mom started dating again, and then her dad like cheated on her mom, and like all these different things, and it's just like a bunch of family drama that like I don't really care about. I mean, on the back of this book it does say that this is a thrilling novel of emotional suspense about the damaging fictions we cling to and the hard truths we avoid, but above all it's a love story between a mother and a daughter. I feel like life is too short to read books that I find to be so uninteresting right from the jump. Like I'm glad I gave this one a shot, but like I just have no desire to want to finish this. I have no desire to continue with this. So I think for now I'm gonna call it quits. You'll have to let me know if you have read Like Mother Like Daughter, if it improves at all, if you think that it's worth finishing, because at this point I seriously doubt it. Anyways, this morning I drove down here to Bellingham with my sister. She's actually getting her nails done at this place. We like to come all the way down here because there's this very specific place that's in Bellingham that we really like to get our nails done because it's significantly cheaper to get them done here, but also because the people here are so freaking nice. And so she's getting her nails done today. I decided, like, I was like, well, I'll drive down with you because, you know, I wanted to just sit and read in the car and just like have a chill day out. What was the best thing though was this morning I woke up to this weather where like it's actually kind of like cloudy and cold out today. It's only about 62 degrees today. So for the month of August, like that is so rare because it's supposed to be getting really hot soon in the next couple of days. We're supposed to get all the way up to 90 degrees. So the fact that it's like 30 degrees cooler today is just crazy. Like it feels so good outside. It almost feels like fall today. And so I am loving that. But then, you know, the only reason why I did want to come today as well is because I think after this, me and my sister are going to try to hit up Trader Joe's because Trader Joe's is not too far from this area. Whoa. So pretty.
An acrylic gel nail set is $50. I feel like that's not bad.
That's not bad. Yeah, 50 bucks.
I think it's like, because every time I used to come, I used to get like a design and it would always be like 75 or 80.
Yeah.
But the ceiling fan is so nice.
Seed and flax granola. This is a top favorite. I love it. They had it there at Trader Joe's, so I thought, why not? And this stuff is incredible. Oh my god, it's so good. It's Korean inspired bulgogi beef fried rice with kimchi. It's like a tiny bit spicy, but it's so freaking good. I've tried it once before and I loved it, so we got that. Also got their beef bulgogi, and it looks like it's gonna be freaking delicious, so I had to. I also have never tried this before, but it's a flatbread. This one is a burrata, prosciutto, and arugula flatbread. Oh my gosh, does this not look so freaking good? Okay, hello, it is the same day, it's just a few hours later, but I wanted to update you because I have started listening to Bury Your Gaze on audio. I'm now 21% of the way through, and so far I'm already really invested in this. So Chuck Tingle, he's the same author as Camp Damascus, which is a horror book that I read last year that I ended up really enjoying, and I've been really looking forward to this one, not only because, you know, it's a new horror book from Chuck Tingle, but also because I thought the premise and the synopsis of this one sounded very interesting, but I also like have no idea what to expect with this story. So all I do know is that we're following this main protagonist, and his name is Misha, and he's like this gay man that's living in Los Angeles, and he's a film writer and like a TV show writer, and he was recently just nominated for an Oscar for his short film, so like he's got some, you know, real writing chops, you know, some real credits. What's cool too is the fact that his best friend Tara is aromantic and asexual, which is so cool, and I didn't realize there would be that representation in this book, so like that's freaking amazing. So right at the beginning of this book, one of his executives named Jack tells him that he's gonna need to cut out this like lesbian kiss from the story that he ended up writing for this show, and he's like, why would I do that? Like, I've been building the tension between them all season, like it's all supposed to lead to this. And he basically told Misha that if he doesn't write out the kiss, then they're gonna like have to kill off the gay characters. And then Misha literally is like, this is the worst thing, like queer characters never get a happy ending, it's literally bury your gaze. Yeah, god, it's so annoying. Like they literally tell him, well, like we are only under contract for like 2 more weeks anyway, so unless you get a script to us that kills off the gay characters, then like we're just gonna hire somebody else to do it anyway, and the characters belong to like the studio or whatever, so like it's not really his decision. Like he can't really make a choice here, they're just telling him to do it. And so it's very frustrating for him right at the start of this book because he's trying to deal with like, what should I do? Like, should I actually write this, or should I just be like, fuck the studio and fuck the suits? I love that we also, at the start of this book, we got a flashback to 1996 when this protagonist, he was 9 years old, and he was kind of like watching this show that him and his friends were all really obsessed with, and he felt absolutely gutted when like the 2 male leads of the show, like it felt like they almost had like romantic tension between them, and then one of the guys like confessed his love to one of the other female characters on the show, and he said he felt like he like was so gutted because it was like so obvious to him that there was like romantic tension between these 2 men on the screen, and they just wouldn't follow through with that for the writers. But I think there's a lot of commentary there about how like these shows or these franchises will like queer bait the audience, you know, like they will write this tension that is so obvious to anybody watching that like either the 2 male leads or like the 2 female leads will have a lot of tension that just never goes anywhere because they're queer baiting the audience. I don't really know what to expect from this story, like plot wise, like I have no idea where it's going, because so far all that's happened is that he's being criticized for like not killing off the gay characters, and he's trying to rework the script that he's working on. But then also while he was like out with his friend Tara, like while they were out on the town, he runs into like a few of his fans on the street, like fans who are familiar with like his work in the horror genre, and he's created this monster, this character that's called the Smoker. The descriptions of this monster, this character, are like genuinely so creepy, and he'll just get people like dressing up as the monster and then like approaching him on the street and acting kind of like weird towards him. So there's been a few different like fan interactions that have been like a little bit creepy and a little bit weird so far, and I don't know like what direction, you know, this story could be going in. I think it's really interesting, it's really creepy, it's like setting up the mood very well. I love that it takes place in Los Angeles. It really does feel like you're like reading behind the scenes of like the studios and all the bullshit that goes on behind the scenes, and so I'm really enjoying this so far. I'm gonna continue listening to this on audio. I think I'm gonna go to the gym right now, maybe walk on the treadmill for a little bit and just listen to this at the gym. Okay, hello, it is the next morning, but I wanted to update you because yesterday I got 42% of the way through the audio of Bury Your Gaze, and like, dude, this book is so good. It is so genuinely creepy. Like, it is so freaking creepy. You know the book is good when, like, yesterday when I was at the gym, I was only planning on being on the treadmill and like walking for about like 30 minutes, and I ended up staying on the treadmill for 42 minutes. I could not get off the treadmill until I finished reading this one scene that I was listening to, because I was like, holy shit, it was so creepy. It genuinely gave me like full body chills while I was at the gym. Like, when does that ever happen? It was just so creepy. Like, it really got to me. There's a specific scene in this book that takes place on an airplane. Oh my god, if you know, you know. It's probably the creepiest scene that I've ever read that takes place on an airplane. So I am just like, I'm loving it so much. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but it really does feel like it's giving me 5-star energy so far. I mean, I know I'm a little bit less than halfway through the book at this point, but I think I am going to try to finish listening to it today. And I'm just so excited. Like, I'm so curious to see where the rest of this book goes. I think the idea of this book is so cool and so unique. It's really interesting to me that this whole story has this like question of like, is it real or is it not real? Like, it's rare for me to actually get like creeped the fuck out while reading a scene at the gym. Only listening to it on audio, like, that rarely ever happens to me, but it's happening with this one. So I'm having a great time. I'm gonna go downstairs and make some breakfast. I just woke up, if you couldn't tell. I'm gonna go downstairs and make some breakfast and then hopefully finish listening to this one today because it's so good. Okay, hello, I'm back with an update because I just finished listening to Bury Your Gaze on audio, and I'm so torn over how I want to rate this book because I don't think it was like the perfect 5-star read. I mean, I'm being super nitpicky here, but I do think that there were some things in the second half of the book that just started to lose my attention, like just a little bit, but I do think that I'm gonna end up giving this one probably like 4.5 stars. I had such a great time with this one, and in comparison, you know, because Camp Damascus is the only other book that I've read from this author, and Camp Damascus is a book that I really enjoyed when I read it last year. I ended up giving this one 4 stars, but I think Bury Your Gaze I enjoyed even more than Camp Damascus, so I think I have to give this one 4.5 stars. There were some things about the ending of this book where I did kind of expect it to go in that direction, but then there were some things about the ending of this book that I was like a little bit less invested in, I guess. But dude, some of the violence and like the gore in this book, oh my gosh, I was literally like tempted to like skip ahead a little bit because it was making me so nauseous. I was like, wow, like he is so good at writing the most gruesome, horrific shit, like truly. And also like the audiobook experience of this alone is worthy of like 5 stars. Like the audiobook is absolutely incredible. There were moments of the book like in between the chapters that kind of read like a screenplay, and it was really cool because in those sections they would get the different voice actors to narrate those sections of the audiobook, but then those sections of the audiobook specifically, it sounded like you were listening to a movie because they included so many sound effects, not just like cool music and like car noises and like phone noises and different things like that, but literally like people screaming. Like you could hear like people in the background. Like I don't even know how to explain it. I'll play a clip of the audiobook for you right now so you can know what I mean.
Misha slips the pen into his jacket's inner pocket.
What the fuck?
A sound in the forest prompts Misha to turn his head abruptly, gazing through the trees in a futile attempt to see. The elevated freeway hums with unseen traffic. A gray sedan pulls up and parks. A long beat. Screams of panic begin to carry through the night. A man and a woman horrified by the presence of Mrs. Y. There's a loud crash is begging now.
No, don't do this, please.
So you see what I mean with the audiobook, like the attention to detail in so many of these different clips was just so fascinating, and it made for such an interesting reading experience. I also just really do appreciate the representation in this book with so many different types of queer characters. It is so rare to find an asexual and like an aro-ace character in books like this, and I love how she talks about the fact that there's like little to no asexual representation in any characters ever in media, and I love that that was like a big discussion point brought up in this book, especially in the second half. But also I just love the discussion about queer characters in media in general. I do do think that sometimes like the message of this book got a little bit like on the nose, if you know what I mean. I do feel like in the writing he could have been a little bit more subtle at times with like the message that he was trying to get across, but I really do appreciate what he was trying to do here. And like I love the message that this book is sending. I love the discussion about how like we need more queer characters who don't have tragic stories, you know, like we need more happy endings for queer characters. I feel like that was a big theme that was discussed a lot in Camp Damascus as well, so I feel like Chuck Tingle is doing some really awesome things in horror right now. Wow, I'm so glad that Bury Your Gaze is definitely worth all of the hype that it's getting. I looked on my Goodreads and right now this book is averaging like a 4.3 out of 5. Like it is averaging some pretty high ratings and I can totally see why. Like I really think that this was a great horror book because not only does it have a great message about like queer people and queer characters, but it also is just so gruesome and disturbing and like truly some of the creepiest and like gnarliest horror that I've read in a long time. And it was just wildly entertaining. Like I just had a really great time listening to it. It flew by. Now I'm going to be getting ready to go over to my parents' house because it's actually my dad's birthday. I mean, technically my dad's birthday is tomorrow, but we're going to be celebrating it with him today because this weekend I'm so excited because Rachel and Obed are actually taking a trip to Arizona this weekend. They leave tomorrow. I'm basically going to get the apartment to myself for like the entire weekend. I mean, I'm going to have to watch Tank, you know. I mean, if you didn't know, Tank is actually Rachel and Obed's dog. He's not my dog, but I'm gonna be watching Tank full time for the next 4 days as well. So like that should be a fun time. But anyways, let's get ready to go to my parents. Dad's serving his own birthday dessert.
He made his own.
Oh wow. So this is cinnamon roll with blueberry
And cream cheese.
and cream cheese.
And butter.
Wow.
And butter.
Taste test. It's great.
It's great. 10 out of 10.
Oh good.
See that? Oh, look at that. What a pretty girl.
So last night I ended up going over to my parents' house to celebrate my dad's birthday. It was so much fun. It was really fun actually because we were all just like watching the Olympics. We were watching like the men's skateboarding that they were airing last night. And it was so fun because we were all like trying to predict what their score was gonna be. For some reason, Obed was like really freaking good at it. He was always like right on the dot of like what their score would end up being. And I was like, okay, so either you're psychic or in another life, you were an Olympic judge for skateboarding. But anyways, this morning at like 4:45 in the morning, I drove Rachel and Obed to the airport and they are now in Arizona for the weekend. So I have the place to myself and I've been watching Tank and it's been really great so far. This morning, I went ahead and got a start on wilderness reform while I was making breakfast and everything. I've just been listening to the audiobook and I already got 23% of the way through the audiobook. I've been listening to it for 3 hours and I just hit page 80. And I'm sad to bring you this news, but like this book has been so boring so far and it's just not really gripping me. So in this story, we're following this young boy named Ben and he has not been doing very well. Like he's just been getting in trouble over and over again. And at the beginning of this book, they describe how he was trying to rob a bank and he's just like getting himself into trouble. And you know, I think it's described that he's only like 12 or maybe 13 years old, maybe even a little bit younger. And so the judge orders him that instead of going to like a juvenile detention center, they're gonna send him to this camp that's in Montana. And so Ben and his family live in Louisiana and they're gonna send him to this wilderness reform place in Montana. And so far in the first 80 pages of this book, like nothing has really happened other than like learning a little bit about Ben's history with his like bad behavior. But then something that I find so cheesy about this is that Ben's character is supposed to be like a prodigy. He's like, yeah, most adults would describe me as like the smartest person ever. And like it just goes on this whole tangent about how like he's actually basically like a boy genius and how just because of the way that he was raised, he was never able to like really flex his like mental abilities, but like he's actually a genius. And like, I'm sorry, but I just find it so cheesy sometimes in horror books where we're following like a young kid who is like supposed to be like the smartest kid who's ever lived. It's just really cheesy. Like, why do they have to be so smart? Like, can't a kid just be a kid. It was just funny, I guess, the way that they were talking about it, because it felt so pretentious, because it just kept being like, Ben was not like the other kids. He was just so advanced. Like, he was just so far ahead. He just has to live in a world where everybody else is just so stupid and he's just so smart. Oh my god, gag. It was just so annoying. And then, you know, there's this guy named Reed who is like the retreat's charismatic owner. Like, he's the guy that's kind of like in charge around here. And right away, you know, he's getting some bad vibes from this guy Reed, and he can just feel like this is not going to be a good situation. And I don't know, so far in those first 80 pages, they're kind of just setting it up to be like, ooh, something's wrong at this camp or something's slightly off. But I feel like I'm personally going to DNF this one right now, because at 80 pages in, not only do I not care about the characters, but I'm already finding them to be a little bit annoying, if I'm being honest, but also because there's just nothing gripping me with the story. Like, I don't want to spend the next 300 pages reading about this camp because I just don't care. And it's unfortunate that I don't care, because I really wanted to care, and especially because this cover is like the most summer vibes, beautiful horror book cover. Like, I love this. And I was really excited to read this one too, because I was such a big fan of Old Country by these two authors, but this one just isn't really doing anything for me. I also was looking on Goodreads, and it seems like a lot of my friends are actually rating this one pretty low and saying that they were pretty disappointed. I saw a lot of people saying that the pacing of this book is so slow and that nothing really happens. And I'm like, yeah, I'm already getting that from the first 80 pages. But I think for now, this is going to be a DNF, just because I don't want to get into a reading slump because of this. And because there are so many like thriller and horror books that I'm so excited to read that I'm like, why would I waste an entire day reading a book that I'm not enjoying, you know? I really am becoming a lot more cutthroat in the year of 2024 when it comes to DNFing books that I'm not enjoying, so I'm sorry if that's annoying for you to watch, but I think I'm going to start on a thriller next. I'm not entirely sure which one of these I'll be in the mood for. I think my plan for today is to go out to the park and maybe try to read one of these. I don't know, like maybe I'll read a chapter of each one of these and just see which one pulls me in right away, because tomorrow I have reading sprints scheduled on Patreon, and I'm gonna be doing 9-hour reading sprints. So like, I'm not gonna be able to go out tomorrow probably, because I'm doing that like all day. So for today, I figured today would be the day to go out if I were to do that.
Oh, my sweetheart.
Many hours later, it's now like 6 o'clock at night, and the park was lovely today. I mean, it was pretty hot outside, so like I didn't end up staying too long. I was also like sitting on the ground, and for some reason there were so many bugs. Like, I know that I was outside, but usually when I sit at that park, I don't have any issue with like bugs bothering me usually, but like the bugs were out today. I just kept feeling them crawling around me, and I was getting so freaked out. And then of course all the children were just like screaming at the top of their lungs. Oh my god. So I didn't end up staying at the park for too long. I went to the library afterwards to pick up one of my holds, and I think I've decided to read Look in the Mirror as my next read. I did read the first chapter of the other two books, but this one is the one that pulled me in right away. And now I'm actually 60 pages into the book. This one just has a really interesting premise, and I'm really liking the setup of it already. The main protagonist that we're following in this story, her name is Nina, but she finds out that her father has like left her this very tropical, beautiful home in the Caribbean, and she's like, I don't even know my father had ever been to the Caribbean. Like, it seems like she's gonna be finding out a lot of secrets about her father and his like secret life he could have been having from her. And so I do like that we are getting her perspective as she's like learning about this house. She's going out to the Caribbean to like see this house in person for the first time, and she's starting to like unravel some secrets about her father. But then we also get a second point of view in this book from this woman named Maria, and honestly I'm finding her perspective to be even more interesting than Nina's, because Maria is a struggling medical student who is working as a nanny for like the super rich families. It's not exactly like something that she she really wants to do, but she feels like she needs to do this to make the money right now. And so she decides to take on one more rich family as a nanny. She's gonna do one more job and then she's gonna be done with it all. And of course, this one that she takes on, it's like really weird because she gets to this house that's like really fucking nice, but like nobody ever shows up. Like she's there working for like a few days and she's like, okay, when is the client supposed to be arriving? She thought there were supposed to be kids coming, and she's like alone in the house, and they left her with very strict instructions about do not go in the basement, or there's a very specific door that has been locked up, like she can't go down there, and she just assumes that it's like there's like an office or something that they don't want her to go into because of like privacy reasons. She doesn't know exactly like what is in that room down there or what's going on with that, but oh my god, the freaking setting and the atmosphere of her scenes have been so creepy so far. I really do love the trope of like a nanny that's taking care of like a client or some kids and like shit hits the fan or shit gets weird. Like that's definitely one of my favorite thriller tropes, and this one has been no different so far. But what I'm liking about this one is that there's nobody even there with her, you know, because like she's just alone in this house. And I don't know if it's because I'm currently like staying here alone, but I feel like it's getting to me even more than it usually would reading this, because I'm like, oh my god, like some of the things that are happening while she's alone are so creepy that like me being here alone right now, I'm like, oh my god. And there have already been like a few chapters, because I'm on chapter 9, and I love that this author, with every end of her chapters, she kind of ends it off on like the tiniest, babiest little cliffhangers, you know? And there have been a few times at the end of these chapters where I'm just like, wait, what? And I immediately have to continue into the next one because like I need to know what's going on. And so I feel like that's a sign of a good thriller so far, you know? Like I'm having a fun time with this. This book is reminding me why I love reading thrillers, and I think that that's an amazing feeling to have, because I don't get that very often these days, you know? Like it's hard. When you've read so many thrillers, it's hard to remember sometimes, like, why do I keep reading this genre? It's because of the feeling that I'm getting while I'm reading this book. It's just so fun. So anyways, I also got some very exciting book mail. Penguin Random House just sent this amazing box. They sent like so many cute little goodies, but they sent this book, The Favorite by Lane Fargo. This one doesn't come out until January 2025. So like, holy shit, I can't believe that I'm already holding this. And I also can't believe how freaking thick it is. And I guess it's just a little over 430 pages, but still, it feels so thick. But this is one that I'm so excited about because Lane Fargo is the same author as They Never Learn. And this one sounds incredibly interesting because it involves like figure skating and ice skating. Like, dude, I love figure skating and ice skating. Like that is definitely something that I want to be reading more of in my life. I don't even know if this one is like a thriller or mystery, because I know Lane Fargo, she's in the past, she's published like mystery thriller books. I don't even think this one is a thriller, because this one just says that it's an epic love story set in the sparkling savage sphere of elite figure skating. I don't even think that this is a mystery thriller. It sounds like it's just gonna be like a romance or maybe even like contemporary fiction. I don't know, but I'm still so pumped for this. I do just love Lane Fargo's writing, and so I think that this is gonna be incredible. So thank you to Penguin Random House for sending me this. A little bit after 6 o'clock, I think I'm going to get started on dinner, and I need to feed Tank because look at him. He's just chilling here on the floor. He's like, bitch, feed me. Stop talking about your books and feed me. Hello, it is the next morning. I've been doing some Patreon reading sprints. I've been live for almost 4 hours now, but I wanted to update you because I just finished reading Look in the Mirror, and this book was so unexpected. This one was really fun. This is one of the most fast-paced thrillers that I've read in a long time. Like, it's been a long time since I've read a book where I just like literally have to read the next chapter immediately. I feel like something this author did really well in this book is that she ends every chapter on just a little bit of a cliffhanger, and it keeps you wanting to read and keeps you wanting to flip the pages. It was just so fast paced, and I especially loved in the second half how there was a lot of action happening in both timelines that you're going back and forth. And this book was just so thrilling. Like, it really felt like a genuine thriller because there was so much action happening and so much suspense. I also feel like Catherine Stedman, oh my gosh, like was she leaning into horror a little bit here? Because there were a few scenes throughout this book that literally were giving me like full body chills with like how creeped out I was. I know the fact that like I'm staying here alone at the apartment right now and this character is like alone in the house probably had something to do with that, but like there were truly some scenes that got under my my skin that I thought was genuinely so creepy. This book just goes off in a direction that I never could have predicted it to go that way. I would say to be really careful actually when looking at reviews of this book, because I feel like some people in their reviews, I feel like some people are giving away kind of like the plot that ends up happening in this book. And I would recommend, if you want to read this book, jump into it knowing as little as possible, or like only the main synopsis that I've shared with you, because I feel like this book goes off in a direction that is so wild and so crazy, but to even compare it to anything would get spoilery, you know? Because I do see people on the Goodreads reviews, they're comparing this book to another book, and I feel like even by comparing it to that book, in my mind, I feel like that kind of spoils something about the plot. They have like a Q&A with the author at the end of this book, and they asked her what inspired her to write this book, and she mentions one of my favorite TV shows, and I think even mentioning the show that she talks about that was inspiration for this book is a huge spoiler. So I would just tread very carefully when looking at different reviews for this book, because I feel like a lot of people might accidentally spoil this, but I had a lot of fun with this. I don't know, I'm really surprised. I don't know if I ended up loving this one more than The Family Game, because The Family Game was another book that I really did love from this author. I can't remember if I gave that one 4 stars or if I gave it like 3.5 stars, but I think this book, it has to be a solid 4 stars from me. I think the only reason why this one isn't getting a 5 star from me is because the ending of this book was good. I just felt like it was a little bit abrupt for me. I just feel like I could have used a little bit more from that ending. And then maybe if there had been something like extra shocking happening at the ending of this book, maybe that could have made me want to bump it up all the way to a 5. But I also love thrillers like this that can kind of surprise you with like what the plot of the book is even about, because I feel like that's really tricky to do these days, because this is not just like your typical like, oh, nanny goes to a house alone kind of like, I don't know, it just goes off in a direction that I never could have expected. And that's what I loved about this, is even though there wasn't any like huge plot twists throughout the book, it was like the plot itself was like unexpected. And I feel like that's so hard to do these days, because I feel like so oftentimes just the premise of the book will like give so much away. I did have this book as an option for my book club, like for the booktube, because usually I give my Patreon the option of like 3 different books and then they get to vote on which one ends up being the book club pick. And unfortunately, this one did end up getting beat out by another book. But like, wow, this one actually probably would have been a really interesting book club pick, just because I feel like there is a lot to discuss with this one, especially as far as like what your theories were throughout the book. I also feel like Catherine Steadman, like, oh my gosh, I really want her to explore more of that like horror kind of tone that she has throughout this book. I feel like she would be very successful at writing horror, because this book at times felt like it was leaning into that horror genre, and I just wanted even more of that. And so Catherine Steadman, if she ever writes a horror book in the future, I would be all over that, because I think she has some real potential there. It is now the next afternoon. I decided to pick up Nanny Needed next. I know this one's technically more of like a backlist thriller, because I think this book actually published in 2021, but it is a new to me thriller, because I just got this book in the mail recently. It was actually so kind. The author, Georgina Cross, ended up sending me a copy of this book, which was really sweet. And this one just happens to have one of my favorite thriller tropes, where it's like a nanny nannying for children and then shit hits the fan, it's not what they expected it to be kind of thing. And I wanted to update you because I just hit chapter 10 of the book, which puts me about 75 pages in, and I just hit this part where I literally like my mouth just dropped over something that just happened. Like, wait, what do you mean? So I thought now would be a good time to update you, because I'm already having a fun time with this. In this story, we're following this protagonist named Sarah, and she works in the restaurant industry, but she sees this job opportunity to be a nanny, and she decides like, why not? Like, why not just apply for it? Even though she doesn't really have any experience as a nanny. This book also takes place in New York City, by the way, and it just has the best New York City vibes so far, especially in the beginning of this book. And so she does get the job with this really rich family, and of course they seem like so fucking nice, and all of this just feels too good to be true, because she's getting paid like $1,200 a week to basically do not that much, because they're like, this is a very easy job, you know, because they're like, you know, we already have like a chef and a maid, and like your job is literally just to be the nanny, like just taking care of the child is only what you're gonna be here to do. And like the mother seems like super freaking nice and super friendly, and there's the little girl Patty, who like, it takes her a long time to meet Patty. For some reason the mother is being super weird and dodgy about about her actually meeting the little girl. And now I just reached a point at chapter 10 where it's starting to feel like there's something weird going on with this family. Like there's something weird happening with this little girl, Patty, and I am so intrigued. I am so invested. This is definitely giving me like turn of the key vibes so far, which is like one of my favorite thrillers. I feel like that's the thriller that I really credit to getting me into that trope of like the nanny gone wrong kind of thing. I just find that trope to be so entertaining. Like it's so much fun. Right, Tank? Oh, Tank's also a huge fan. He's also a big fan of this trope. But anyway, I just thought I would update you because so far it's going well. I think I'm going to continue to listen to this audiobook while I go downstairs and make some dinner. And then later tonight, I am excited because I have my Patreon movie night tonight. We're gonna be watching the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire movie, which should be a fun time. I feel like a movie like this is probably guaranteed to be a fun movie to watch with the group. I made that Korean beef bulgogi from Trader Joe's last night. Holy shit, that was so good. That was like exceptionally good. We had the Patreon movie night for the new Ghostbusters movie, the Frozen Empire one, and it was actually so much fun. Like I feel like a Ghostbusters movie like that, if I was watching it on my own, I would be like, yeah, this is fine, but like it is such a perfect group watch movie. So that was a really fun time. And then anyways, I wanted to let you know that last night after the movie night, I ended up staying up in bed reading Nanny Needed, and I got 70% of the way through the audiobook. I'm now on page 238. Ever since the last time that I updated you though, I think I updated you when there was like kind of a plot twist or like something happened at chapter 10. And then I feel like ever since then, there hasn't really been anything more crazy added to the plot. It's just kind of been like seeing what happened because of something that happened in chapter 10, if that makes sense. The things happening in this book have been super interesting. Like it's definitely been holding my interest. I'm just starting to wonder if there's like anything more going on in the story, and I'm starting to get the suspicion that there is more going on. So I do feel like I could be reaching a point soon where there's gonna be another big reveal, and I'm kind of hoping that there will be, because I really hope that the reveal around chapter 10 isn't gonna be like the only big reveal in the book. But I am liking the vibe so far. I mean, as I mentioned so many times in this vlog already, I do love books like this where there's like a nanny involved with children. I just think it's really interesting. So I'm having fun with it. I just really hope that the ending kind of like steps it up, you know what I mean? Okay, hello. It has been a little bit more than an hour. I just finished reading Nanny Needed, and luckily the ending of this book did have some surprises that I did not see coming. There was one reveal that came almost like right after I updated you that I definitely saw coming, or at least like I knew the book was going in that direction. But then there was something about the ending that I personally did not see coming. I don't know how I feel about the plot twist. I haven't really had time to process, I guess, how I'm feeling about it, but it was something that I definitely did not see coming. So I was like, oh shit, okay. I feel like this ending will be satisfying to a lot of readers because I feel like there's a lot of different things at the end of this book that are like little twists here and there. And so I really enjoyed this one, and I feel like this one could be a big people pleaser kind of thriller. And you know, because the audiobook is like less than 10 hours for this one, so I feel like it's one of those books that would be really easy to finish in like 1 or 2 sittings, and the pacing is just so quick. Like it reads so fast. The chapters are also pretty short because there's over 50 chapters in this 300-page book, and I really enjoyed it. I feel like I would recommend this for fans of like either like Frida McFadden or like Kirsten Modglin or any of those authors, because it has like a similar like readability to it, I guess, that those books have. It's like the typical like popcorn kind of thriller, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like this would be the perfect book to like get you out of a reading slump. So I think this was the perfect thing for me to read, to be honest. I think ratings wise, I don't know if I'm gonna give this 4 stars or maybe like 3.5 stars. I think I need to think on that more. But overall, this one was a good time, and I would recommend this one, especially if you're feeling a little bit slumpy with thrillers. I feel like this would be a good one to pull you out of it. Aww. Tank. Look at your little teeth. You're so silly, Tank. Anyway, like I was saying at the beginning of this vlog, I think I am becoming a little bit more like ruthless when it comes to DNFing this year. And so I guess my question for you with like vlogs moving forward would be like, do you want me to include the stuff that I'm DNFing when I'm doing vlogs like this, or should I just like scrap all the footage of that? I don't know if it matters, because I think for me personally, I do like to see when somebody DNFs a book. Like, I like to hear why, you know, like, why was a book a DNF? I feel like that actually makes me more intrigued to hear why the book was a DNF and why it wasn't working. But I know that for some people that's not the case, and like maybe it's really annoying if I include the DNFs in my vlogs. So I guess let me know your thoughts on that. And if you've read any of the books that I read in this video, then please do let me know your thoughts on them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!